Hey, good morning, everybody. Got ourselves a nice, cool, little bit foggy Thursday morning, mid-June. Hasn't really gotten too hot yet here during the day. Occasional day where we got some mid-90s or something, but nothing like what's coming every year, especially out here in the inland areas of California, where we get about three solid months of temps in the 90s consistently, and lots of days over 100. And it's nice. It's dry. Unless you hate the heat, then yeah, you wouldn't want to be here. But I like it. It's probably like most people wherever you're from, you kind of simulate to the weather. I can't take humidity. I've tried. Places that are extremely humid are just not something I'm assimilated to. But anyway, enough about the weather. Tom Waits said, it's the same all over the world. Strangers talk only about the weather. Pretty cool line. And very true. I don't know how many times I catch myself around a stranger, and we wind up talking about the weather for a minute or two. It's that common thing that we all experience, I guess. But yeah, it's nice while we're enjoying these cool days, or cool mornings, I should say, because it does warm up. And it's about 6:20 right now, and in another month at 6:20 it'll already be, it could be 80 degrees out here, and bright and sunny. But we do get to, sometimes people, there's no June gloom this year. Yeah, it mostly is in the morning, and then this fog turns into high clouds. Here I am talking about the weather again. But one thing we've all started to get used to too is what we would call the perfect weather for disruption of society. We've had so many issues, especially I'd say in the last, social issues, that people have gotten really hell-bent about. And we all have our opinions about the things that fuel these, this rage that people show. And for me, I see a lot of it as raging about, or for, and in favor of questionable behavior to start with. I don't see that kind of rage for, for issues that are right under our noses and have been. Yeah, I don't know what to make of the, genuineness of people's rage and how they act out with the rage when, again, in my opinion, there's a lot of things that need that kind of energy and nobody really does anything about it. Nobody really says anything about it. Nobody is out losing their minds over it. It just all feels so orchestrated. Kind of like, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's over there. Everybody go rage about that. Wait, there's something different now. 4, 3, 2, 1. Everybody go over here and rage about this. Everybody just does it. Or not everybody, I should say. That particular group, that tribe, that side. But in the United States, and probably really globally, but let's talk about where I am and where I'm from and what I do actually experience on a day-to-day basis. In the last 6 years, 8 years, the absolute most destructive and vile, embarrassing, violent, authoritarianism, intolerant, actions that I've seen have all come from what we call the left. Leftists, actual communists that we have in our country, and just what communists need more than anything is just sheep, followers, weak people. That's its that's its firewood. It just chews that up, and that's its fuel. That's what it needs. It needs people who are willing to give up all of their freedoms, rights, thinking that if they do that, they somehow are gonna bring up the less fortunate or the disenfranchised, community or person. But really, in my opinion, again, I just see it as people that are lazy. Completely lazy. Don't want to actually put in the work themselves. And so they're just praying for this, savior, this mother that's gonna, let them suck on her tit for the rest of their life, so they don't really have to do anything. All they have to do is just do what mommy says, and never really have to grow up. Or actually just do the work themselves and, not expect anything, really. As far as being taken care of or whatnot. So, there's so many things that, somebody like myself could go on about. And by nature, I'm just not really a mean person. It's not that I don't have thoughts that are mean or maybe even dark. But when it really comes down to it, for me, it's very difficult to start to attack people or, really voice my beliefs in a way that I know is going to hurt people or offend people, or it's just hard for me to do it. Don't know why. Because I have all those thoughts, and I have a lot. I mean, I'm a obsessive thinker, thinking all the time about what I see around me. But I usually find it that I'd rather just kind of do something and realize that I only have so much time on this planet. And doing something, whether how small or how big or how many people notice or don't notice, or that doesn't really enter into my thinking. I'm just really just trying to do something. Anything. So we got our first little bit of litter here. Yeah, but these protests and stuff, I'm sorry folks, I'm just not buying it. It just seems so orchestrated. In our day and age, there's so much information that can support yeah, I know it's just toilet paper, but I don't really believe anything is too small when it comes to doing something good. Well, what's on the other side, the saying, the death of 1,000 cuts? You could say it the other way, right? Maybe like something like the life of a million raindrops. What if we only said some of those raindrops mattered? Every single one of them matters for there to be life. And that's kind of what we are like, right? As many of us have come and gone on this earth, it's almost like we're just all little raindrops. And each one of us can do something positive. Think about it in construction, right? Anybody can be involved in the demo process, tearing something down, ripping something up, hauling something away, and it's part of the process. But you've yet to actually really build anything. As my dad used to say, he's like, really, there are two types of mentalities, two types of people. It's mentalities. There's people that feel like their contribution is to tear down stuff. They see something, it's almost like they're the vandal mentality, or and they see something that's already, someone's already built something or been working on something, and it gives them some sort of pleasure to just go and kick it over or light it on fire or smash it or break it or something. And then you have other types of people who almost everything they see or look at is, to them, they have a vision. that something here could be beneficial. And so they build things, and a lot of times they build things that aren't just for them. When you're walking on trails out in, in the hills or up in the mountains or in wherever you're hiking or just walking trails, I always think about who were the first people that started this little trail until it turned into a legitimate, worn trail. Did they have any idea that this would be so beneficial to me today? Of course not. But that didn't stop them. They knew it was going to be important. And the people that came after that, same thing, they took care of that trail too and started using it more. I mean, that's really how roads. Someone started, walking the same way with their donkey or something, right? And fast forward 100 years or 200 years later, and that could be the same route as one of our major freeways that thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people use every day. But now it's just, watching, a time where our society that's alive right now are seemingly way more interested in just tearing things down. And the motivation is really what gets me, especially recently. For, how many times do you see people, advocating and crying over and fighting for and willing to, even risk their own freedom for criminals, and just for reference sake, I'm not necessarily talking right now about the big argument of who's a criminal or not when it comes to the immigration situation in the world, really. It's not just in the United States. It's a huge, but I'm just talking about any criminal, just your everyday average criminal. Nothing to do with the immigration thing. How many people are just so quick to want to, cry for them, and do a GoFundMe for them. That's where we're at? That our heroes and our, our, in a sense, they're almost like our leaders, because if you get behind something and you support it in various ways, you're following that. And so you're following your leader is, just as an easy example, your leader is George Floyd. Okay. I mean, I think for most people whose thought processes has not been chained to something, actual free thinkers, that sounds like absolute insanity. That's where you're gonna do your championing. You're gonna champion for a criminal, right? when there's just so many good and decent people all around us every day who are struggling. And nobody champions for them. Unless it's just, some sort of virtue signaled non-profit that like to go around and, talk about all the things that they do that are so amazing. And then wind up stealing all the money anyway. These non-profits. Yeah, non-profitable for whoever it says they're trying to advocate for, or trying to help. But there's plenty of profit. And it goes right into the administrative wing of any non-profit. It goes right into their pocket. It's disgusting. Have you ever seen anybody rage for our homeless American citizens? And rage when we find out that these politicians who are heading up the funding for programs for the homeless just basically embezzled that money? No receipts. No work got done. Nobody. I don't see anybody raging for that. We have a major human trafficking and especially, dark child trafficking problem, and we've had it for a long time. And there are groups and people that do try to do something, but I don't see anybody raging about it. I don't see, 1,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 people getting out in the streets to march that something is done about these, the most innocent and the most, vulnerable part of our society. Instead, what do I see? I see a bunch of old senior citizens at a protest flipping off everything in their sight, using the most disgusting, foul language. I'm talking boomers. Don't get me wrong, I'm getting up there myself. But yeah, boomers. Just straight up old people. Walking around acting like scum. Just gosh. If I ever saw my grandparents or my parents acting like that, I'd have thought that they had been abducted by an alien and, invasion of the body snatchers or something. When you grow up, you're supposed to mature. But it's almost like that generation, maybe it's in my generation too, the Gen X. I don't know. Guess we'll see when we get a little older. But it's almost like they were so oppressed, or like just not oppressed, but they just, are like, what do they call it? Having their second childhood. They're embarrassing. When you don't have self-control, you're basically not an adult. You know, something in you has just not matured. Because a child doesn't care a lot of times. Just because they're just a kid and they, you know, they haven't matured. So they kind of just don't care. They do stupid stuff. They say stupid stuff. You know, and they learn. And that's the whole process of life, right? Is to learn. To keep learning. You know, to keep refining yourself. To keep growing and becoming a better version of yourself every day. You know. But everything that seems to claim to be a progressive ideology is really at its core regressive. It seems to take things and people backwards. You know, it's all about yesterday. You know, I mean, what do they talk about all the time? You know, trying to dig up any bit of history that proves that, you know, their adversary or their rival or whatever is unredeemable. They did this and they did that, and we're never going to let you forget it. But where's the answers for the future? Where's the building? That's just tearing down. So now all you got left is a bunch of rubble, right? There's piles of rubble everywhere and smoldering fires. And you haven't helped anybody. It's just a constant, just tearing people down, tearing institutions down, tearing everything down. Tear it down. But now you're gonna, what, now entrust the demo crew that you hired, you know, to come in and knock everything down so you can start to build? But you don't actually have any builders? So the demo crew who have no skills is gonna come in and, you know, build your new home? No. Because the guy who's on the demo crew is making $15 an hour. There's a reason why he's on the demo crew making $15 an hour. Because that's all he can do. That's all he's good at. For whatever reason, who cares? But now that guy's not going to all of a sudden shift gears and become your contractor, you know, or your finished carpenter, or your electrician. No, those guys are going to make $60 an hour, and they ain't doing no demo work. So there's an answer there, right? You have skilled labor, skilled workers who come in after the demo. Can't all just be demo. But yeah, you know, go protest for whoever, you know, the media and the Marxists in our country. Go do whatever they say. Because that's all you're doing. You're just being told what to do, where to go, you know, what slogan to chant. You're not a free thinker. You're a sheep. You know, and your shepherd is a con man. His whole system is just total farce. If you're somebody who really cares about things, you don't need nobody to tell you what to do and where to go. You just get up and you start doing things that make an impact, that build, that heal, that grow. Not pillage and burn and, destroy. If that kind of energy that I see to just go out and have a temper tantrum, scream and yell like a baby, if you use that energy to actually do something good, people, you could have so many converts to your way of thinking if people who are watching you saw that you were a builder, that you were compassionate, that you used all your energy and time to make your surroundings and eventually your city and your state and your country a more beautiful place. A place that makes sense, a place that's safe. How about just that? But instead you make it dangerous. You make it dangerous even for the people that you're saying you are out here fighting for. You make their lives dangerous. You make their lives ugly and difficult. Because you got no answers. You're just good out, I guess, I'll give you this, I guess. Good at just pointing out things that aren't good or aren't right or aren't what you think is the way things should be. And then that's it. If anything, then you get hoodwinked into thinking that, oh, this is the organization that I need to support or give my money to or something. And then they just steal it. All that BLM crap, all the money that got raised got stolen. It didn't go anywhere. Did not go. I challenge anybody to give me receipts on all that money where it legitimately went into any of the black communities. And let me see those black communities that are so much better now because of all the concern and the care that you went in. Because, after all the looting and rioting and burning and screaming and huffing and puffing, you just go home. You just go home and do nothing. You just jump back on your phone and you just do nothing. Well, you do one thing. You sit around waiting for the man who, to come in and clean up your mess and then make everything right. Meet your demands. And you showed them, but they're not meeting any of your demands. They never have and they never will. You're just getting played. You're getting played by the man. One of the biggest supporters of these protests is the heiress or the daughter from the Walmart family. You know, she's your gal. Yeah, some big old, like the tire tread. Let's check it out. Yeah, that's the Walmart, dynasty. The Walmart, talking about kings. I mean, I thought you said there was no kings. The Walmart family is definitely a royal family. And they're supporting your no kings? Man, you're stupid. If you can hear that and be like, oh well. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, I had a photo of the pond here, and they're like, well, where's the pond? I'm like, yeah, that's a good question. They thought this was like a meadow or something, a little green field. The algae is just really crazy thick on here right now. Whoa. There's a bird that just went out of, oh, there they go. Suckers are big. But yeah, no kings. I mean, the Walmart family, they're the kings of pain. They basically decimated all of America's small town main streets. Not even small town, all town, I should say. All towns. All towns' main streets. They just decimated. I mean, there's documentaries about it. This isn't something that people don't know. People know this shit. And that's funding your organic, hell raising. Man. That's crazy. That's crazy that anybody would even come to realize that and know that and still be like, oh well. That just goes to show that, like, you can't get mad about anything unless a million other people do. You're just a sheep. When that wolf cries, starts to howl, and one of the sheep says, there's a wolf. The other sheep don't even stop to think about it. They just all run. And it wasn't even a wolf. It was a deer in the bushes who had a bad case of gas or something. Yeah, if you can't think for yourself, there isn't anything anybody can really do for you. There's nothing I can say or do, or anybody can. I mean, you can jump on the internet every day of the week and just be flooded with facts that completely destroy your narrative. By super intelligent people. People put in so much work to provide accurate details and facts that just show that you're being You're just being hoodwinked, you know? But no. If anything, you dig in your heels and you just rage more. Is everybody going to work? Alright, y'all. There's no sense in me keep talking now, because once I get out here on the street, it's just way too noisy and whatnot. I don't know if I'm going to post this. How long is this? Oh, geez. 41 minutes, yeah. 41 minutes, and I didn't even say that much. I don't know if I was really going to say anything too much in the first place. So I guess that's why I wasn't, you know, I don't seem to have that ability to just kind of machine gun out information, or just start getting my blood pressure up so high that I start talking 100 miles an hour. That's just not me, you know. I'll listen back when I get home and see if I said anything worth listening to. But 41 minutes, wow. I'm glad I was just walking and picking up trash instead of doing nothing, or sitting at my house just talking on my phone from my couch or something. Yeah, I like doing stuff. I don't need anybody to tell me, you know. If I see a need, I just plan on spending the rest of my life doing something about it. Not just getting in a collective, in a cult, and doing what everybody else is doing. Which most of the times is really nothing but causing problems, causing more chaos. It all has to be cleaned up. It's all going to cost everybody a ton of money. I'm seriously considering a couple people I know who'd probably jump in with me, but yeah, considering going to these protests and no branding, no side, no opinion, just nothing, just don't even say anything, no cameras, just nothing, and just walk around and just pick up litter at all of these protests right in front of their face, just to see what kind of reaction are you going to get, because you won't be doing what they're doing, that's for sure. And I noticed that just alone can make this mentality just kind of lose its lunch, you know. They're just like, why aren't you doing what I'm doing? Why aren't you saying what I'm saying? You know, you have to be. You have to be doing the same thing I'm doing and going the same way I'm going and doing the same thing I'm doing. You have to. I'm telling you, you have to do that. If you don't, then morning. Then I see you as as an adversary, because I can't compute what it is that you're doing, that because you're not doing what I'm doing. You're not saying what I'm saying. You know, you're making me uncomfortable, or you're making me feel weird, because I'm trying to wreck the place and you're trying to clean it. You know, I want the world to see that I know how to shit on everything, and you're over here picking up the shit. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it, to see the reaction. You just go around and just start right after they break a bottle, right after they, you know, throw their shit all over the place and break everything, and you know, it's just go right behind them and clean it up. I think that it completely throw them for a loop. You might not really get any kind of reaction just because it's never been done. Nobody's ever really done that. Or I shouldn't say nobody, because I don't know. But I've never seen it. Never heard of it. Never even, you know, a lot of times you'll watch all these riots and stuff, and you kind of look, see what are these people doing in the background back here, you know, kind of the quiet ones or whatnot. It's always interesting, you know. But I've never seen anybody doing that. I've never seen anybody do anything good. All right, y'all. I'm kind of piddling around here, trying to stay away from the actual street because it's noisy. All right, everyone. Take care of yourselves. All right. See if you can ever just even question yourself, your own thoughts. And see if maybe, just maybe, you got a couple things twisted. You know, change is one of the purest signs of maturity. It's been a slogan many times. Time for change. Let's fight for change. But people can't even change their own thought process. You know, they get stuck on one thing and that's it. And then they have to kind of continuously lie to themselves to support that. And they ignore everything that's pointing in a different direction that's true. Because they're too proud. Their egos are too big to say they were wrong. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Bye.